All right. Ending it there, cutting it off. Don't need the full 6 minutes, but we are live. We have Walter Bosley joining us today. We are multi-streaming, so we are also live on the Walter Bosley channel, as well as Crypto Alchemist, BurnEye. And we also have Maliah Grimm joining in through the medium with that partly as well. Welcome.
Yes. Well, I think we kind of lost her. Her signal might have.
Okay. Well,
Let me get her back.
I guess Maliah will be joining intermittently at points, but I guess I kind of took you off guard a little bit with our topic to start with. The Montana Megaliths, as well as the Alberta Megaliths that I've been researching myself and going out and investigating. And we talked a little bit, Maliah and I, before about her experience with some of the sites in Montana, but that she doesn't want to go public with them yet, just as the risk of them being destroyed or targeted or vandalized, stuff like that, before they're actually documented. Walter, have you heard of Sage Wall yet?
I don't think so, not as such.
Okay, well, I guess we should start there. Sage Wall is actually the most famous of the Montana megaliths right now, and being investigated. It's on private land. It's on a ranch, and I believe it's 300 meters long. It goes from, I believe, up to 30 feet deep into the ground, and it is all, well, as you see here, polygonal blocks, which appear to be megalithic. Shout out to Wandering Wolf channel, Michael Collins, who's been there a few times. This picture being one of his, but working with the landowners on doing actual archaeological digs and research on the site, and that they've actually, with LiDAR now, found a second parallel wall that is a bit more destroyed and also buried, that I believe is about 100 meters or 200 meters from this one. So the next time you and Maliah go out to Montana, you're going to have to definitely go check out Sage Wall.
Now, what we're looking at here, is this something that mainstreamers would actually say is natural?
No. Oh, yeah, natural. Absolutely, yes. They try to claim it is a lava plume, I believe, or something like that.
Wait. What we're looking at right there, they claim that is a lava plume.
Yes, sir. Or a lava dike. Sorry, lava dike.
A lava dike. And do lava dikes naturally form up in what looks like blocks like this?
I took geology, and they try to claim that in like all of the drawings and depictions. It's like everything is just blocks, and it's like, okay, so is this realm literally Minecraft built, or no, I don't think so. This is definitely constructed.
Down here where we're at, you go about an hour and a half, 2 hours northeast of here, and you have plenty of lava areas. We have a place called Amboy Crater, which is where, in fact, the lava, where the lava has flowed as recently as, I want to say, 400 years, 400 or 500 years. And also we have oh my gosh, by Baker, we've got the lava tube. In fact, I filmed a portion of my film Hell's Bells in the lava tube, the cavern sequence, my silent film on my YouTube. That's in a lava tube. And I've not seen anything out there that looks like this.
Right? So, did you say that that film is on your YouTube channel?
Yes, Hell's Bells. It's
I
my
might have to try to bring it up just for a comparison of the difference of what's natural from volcanic
well,
activity.
you probably have a hard time. It'll take you a while to get deep enough into the film because the film is a 40-minute film.
Fair enough.
And
Next time.
but next time when you get a chance after the show, go watch the movie anyway. You'll enjoy it. It's fun. But you'll see there's a cavern sequence, and that was filmed inside of a lava tube.
And
But
it's
none
not
of the
made out of
formation
block, right? It doesn't. It looks
doesn't look
just like
anything
this,
like
I
this.
imagine, right?
Yeah, and nothing up above the surface looks anything like that.
Right? It's completely different material. It's
Exactly. That's not lava. I mean, I'm not a geologist, but I've been around lava formations and such, and that looks like granite.
right. I was just thinking the same thing. Like this literally looks like granite, which I guess is an igneous rock, but
Well,
or is it metamorphic? I think it's.
I'm not really up on the finer details of the ongoing narrative about this wall, but what's good timing about this, I was just telling Maliah that I suspect that what might be at play with things like this and other mysterious structures, particularly megalithic type structures in the Americas. And I'm going to do a show on this, but I'm becoming more and more convinced of a global Vedic civilization which could have built that wall and which could explain ruins that were reported and documented and illustrated by the Lewis and Clark expedition, and could actually go quite a ways to provide a more accurate background explanation for the Tartaria folks. Now, I've said before, I will not waste my time with the people that say we didn't go to the moon. Dunning-Kruger all the way. They're all a bunch of Dunning-Krugers. They're the smartest people in the room. Just ask them. It's a waste of time to debate that foolishness with them. Also, the flat earthers. I don't know who's dumber. The flat earthers are dumber. And I'm going to get all sorts of hell from, the people in both camps. Whatever. But the Tartaria folks, the only place where they really step on their ding-dongs is when they say that the World's Fair structures are actually older or ancient. That's just a face slap. However, the basic theory of Tartaria that there is that you can find the remnants of this lost, forgotten civilization or erased civilization, I think they could very well, we could all very well find the nugget of truth in that idea, in this idea of the global Vedic civilization that predated it all, that goes back to what we like to call the age of Atlantis or so-called Lemuria and those kinds of things. And that wall could have been constructed by, that civilization a very long time ago.
So by Vedic, by chance, that's pre cataclysm, pre Younger Dryas catastrophe event, like 12,000 years, or
Yeah.
after that? Yeah.
Oh, wait, maybe even before that, because in the Vedic timelines, it's a lot longer than just our usual measurement. So
Yeah.
let's say that Atlantis could have been a contemporary of the latter end of this Vedic civilization. There are those who think that the war in the Mahabharata is a depiction of the war between Atlantis and the Vedic civilization. These are hypotheses, of course, but just to give you context, that's what we'd be talking about.
Right. So, and in the Vedas, like it's similar to like the Sumerian kings list in like length and these epochs of ages, and that there was giants or demigods, correct?
I haven't come across giants yet in the Vedic material to the extent that I've studied them. So I don't know about the giants, but we're talking about. See, my view of I have the view. It's not my view. It's a view that's out there that I presently subscribe to, and that is, when people in the West tend to use the Bible as their standard of what human history is. I'm one of those that is in that school of thought that says, okay, that's nice, that's quaint, that's your history that your cultures came up with, but there's been civilizations come and go before that era, right? In other words, there's Adam and Eve. They have two sons, right? And Cain slays Abel, and then he's banished from the family, and he goes out into the land of Nod and he takes a wife from the others in the land of Nod. That classic question: wait a minute, if Adam and Eve were the first, and the boys were the first two, who are these others? That kind of idea. The idea that there has been a civilization or more than one civilization that predates the timeline of the Bible. And so, yeah, the Atlantean pre-Dryas, but even possibly way before that.
I'm along similar thoughts that like there's been many resets, that it seems like we're probably at least hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years old.
Yeah. I think of it more as not so much a reset, because that word for us these days is loaded. A restart, because remember, a lot of things happen either because natural cataclysms or the hubris of war, which causes a man-made cataclysm, so to speak, or the misuse of a very powerful technology, not a purposeful reset like we talk about in today's context. So
Yeah,
more of a restart,
right? Like cataclysm, and that before World War One, it was taught mainly that Atlantis was real, and that in geology that it was cataclysm, as opposed to this gradual plates theory that they teach now, and that it was these cataclysmic events that actually shaped the world and the landscape. And it seems like that might actually be the case.
I think it's both. I think there is plate tectonics and basically something going on there. But I think also there are human-born catastrophes, and I think both occur. And when you look closely, say at the geological record, you can see the evidence of cataclysm. You can also find evidence of gradual, repetitive, cyclical, so to speak. So I think all of that is at play. There's no reason to just have to pick one.
Right, exactly. And most likely it is a mixture of all. So this right here is one of the dolmens in Montana of Julie Ryder's what she's called Giant's Playground. And I'll pull up her website now, montanamegaliths.com. And as see here, it's like what looks like several megalithic stones, and then these two different colored ones in the middle. And that there's many instances that she's found in this area. So she's at Sage Wall, and that all around the area of Sagewall, she's found what appears to be these monoliths and these dolmens. And I wish I could get a bigger picture of this. It's a perfect amphitheater mountain acoustically, and it appears to be an eagle with the head, the feet, and the wings coming down, but very similar to what's in Colorado there, the Red Rock Amphitheater, I believe. Is that what it's called? But these natural acoustic, or what they call natural acoustic formations, but appear like giant, most more likely use terraformed structures of a past mega civilization.
Right. In the Lewis and Clark expeditions, members of the expedition drew pictures of what looked like very old, worn down, not completely ruined, but remnants of very old structures, man-made structures. And I suspect that what we're looking at with these Montana megaliths and the wall and stuff, it's associated with that. And I think that's one of the big secrets of the Louisiana territory, of the Lewis and Clark expedition. One of the things that they wanted to, the big thing that they wanted to suppress, that and possibly sources of gold. Sechery talks about the gold rush of 1849 being a staged event, and it makes a lot of sense when you read about that in the handprint of Atlas. I looked at Fort Knox in, I think, my first secret missions book, the one about Juan Cabrillo. And, there's people that have put it out there that, Fort Knox is our gold repository. That's a front, that the gold really isn't at Fort Knox. I think Joseph Farrell has talked about this in one of his books as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating, because I agree, and I meant to say earlier, I fully agree with you with like the ridiculous half of this Tartarian narrative, but then that there is a real half. And like my own research into Tartaria, well, it focuses on the area of the map called Tartaria, which is Siberia, which is Turkey, which is around the Black Sea, the Azov Sea, and then into the Siberian Sea there.
Right.
And in those areas, we found many different things I won't get into now. But what was I going with this? The whole point is that they were like kind of these survivors that had a little bit of the knowledge of the past, previous civilization sort of thing, and that they were trying to rediscover or like go back and trade with North America and these lands that were on their maps from before the last cataclysm sort of thing. Oh, okay, now I remember. And that, but another part of this Tartarian community and narrative is that it was, they were called the founding of, or founders and foundings of towns, was that they were actually finding them, and that a lot of the gold mines were actually them discovering these covered up or like buried past civilizations in ruins, and that they were just taking the artifacts out and melting them, as opposed to actually mining from deposits.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think what we're looking at, my current suspicion is that we are looking at the remnants of a Vedic civilization that was contemporary with, actually predated, likely, Atlantis. Now, Atlantis as a culture, Atlantis as a civilization with a capital that inspired what Plato wrote. See, a lot of people say, well, Plato made up Atlantis. Well, yeah, okay. He made up what he wrote, right? And maybe they didn't call themselves Atlantis. This is what Plato called it and called them. The Mahabharata speaks of that big war, and the use of advanced technological weaponry, for lack of a better explanation when you read the descriptions of these things. And it could even have been on a interplanetary level. The war in the Mahabharata could have had something to do with a war between Earth and Mars, or Mars and someone else, with the survivors coming from Mars to Earth, that kind of thing, and perhaps bringing with them, certain technologies that they shared with what was already developed here. So see, people have the people who would have a hard time entertaining that idea, or entertaining that what we're looking at in Montana are the remnants of any kind of advanced construction or architecture. These are the people that just they cling to the linear view of history. They stick with only what is clearly demonstrated in the very limited set of facts, details, and evidences that we have of the past. And so they play it safe. It's like, okay, all we know is this little bit, so we're just going to go with the linear model that says that no way thousands of years ago could anybody have had the know-how or the technology to build, megalithic structures and on and so forth. When we don't know enough for them to draw that conclusion.
Well, and now they're in denial even about such sites as Göbekli Tepe, which is dated to 11,500, which is just after the cataclysm of the last ice age, the Younger Dryas event, and that it seems that it was intentionally covered up, and that it, I guess Graham Hancock's research, that seems that it's like a star alignment to 12,000 years ago. And the Younger Dryas catastrophe event thesis of a comet or asteroid hitting the North American ice sheet, melting it, raising the oceans 400 feet in a matter of years, and changing the whole temperature and climate and conditions of the Earth, and causing this mass die-off and end of the last civilization. But that there's also, I think it's Karen Tepe, which is predated to, some parts of it are 40,000 years old. And welcome, Maliah.
Hey, Maliah. It's and God forbid that you suggest that civilization started anywhere first other than Sumeria. God forbid you suggest that earthborn human life started anywhere but the continent of Africa, because that is what they tell us. That's what they want us. I mean, look how Anglo-centric the idea of it started in Africa is. Why Anglo-centric? Well, England lost North America when we won our revolution, essentially. So their frontier that they really embraced and really jumped into and focused on was the continent of Africa. So therefore, you had the Royal Society, archaeologists and scientists, particularly after the, what was it, 1830 or 1840? I think it was 1830, when they had their big shift in who, was the majority. It went from the philosopher scientists, who were infinitely more wise and learned and intelligent than the bean counting specialist scientists, but the specialist bean counters finally outnumbered the philosopher scientists, whom they hated because of jealousy. And so these are the guys that really jumped into, for them, it became, Africa was their frontier, so it was all about Africa. So therefore, of course, it all started where we've been doing our research. And if anything, I think they certainly wanted to suppress India. They certainly suppressed the Vedic histories, because again, God forbid anything be greater than the glorious British Empire. You know, kind of like the United States goes around bullying, because now it's God forbid anything, be greater than, American Empire. So this affects our histories and what we learn. And the thing is, I think the more you look at it, the more you can't deny that, okay, there's something going on here that wasn't going on in Africa and wasn't going on in Samaria. It was going on here, and it predates that stuff over there. But, again, this is suppressed. Why is it suppressed? Well, is there a living remnant representative of that very old civilization? And are we in some type of diplomatic relationship with them, and there's some reason that it's being kept hidden by request, or there is that possibility. It's like the whole ET thing. Everybody's talking about disclosure, that gosh darn government's keeping that from us. And very few people want to consider that, wait a minute, maybe it's the ETs themselves who don't want to be disclosed. There's a lot of people that have come to that, but most of them, it's, oh no, it's the evil government. Well, maybe the living remnants of this Vedic civilization, as I'm calling it, maybe we are in some type of diplomatic relations or contact with them, and they don't want this stuff revealed. They don't want the Montana Wall revealed as something that was built 50,000 years ago or more. I don't know. These are just thoughts.
They're very good ones, though, and it's like I've pondered that similar idea myself many times. Is it because it takes away our free will of knowing if they're like if they interfered with our creation or affected us in some way, or that we're no longer this monolithic creation story of YOLO, the best ever in this moment sort of thing?
You're talking about the ET civilization, yeah. Right? Not
exactly. Yes, this possible off-world founders, yeah, or demigods or whatever they may be.
I think if anything, here's what I think. I think certainly there was genetic tampering, but I also think there's a whole bunch of us by now. A whole bunch of us. I would prefer to think all of us have a little bit of this, but I think refugees and survivors and travelers and journeyers have come from other planets, human beings exactly like us. I do not accept this pure theory. It is pure theory, okay? That human beings exactly like us could never have emerged on another planet. Oh, BS. Come on, stop that, you guys. Arrogant scientist nonsense. I think there's human beings exactly like us. And over time, some of them have come here, and a whole bunch of us have their DNA. So there's the natural mixing. There's probably some genetic engineering, but also I think there's this very earthborn originated Vedic civilization that we might be the living remnants of, that we might be in diplomatic relations with as well, and they might want it to be kept suppressed.
That's very fascinating, but parallel with some of the research that I've been doing in regards to the elongated skull folk, and that it seems that from what I believe was released or officially done of their genetic mapping, it was either Lloyd Pye, who's since passed of cancer, or L.A. Marzulli, I think, with Brian Forster, that got a couple of the elongated skulls genetically mapped, and that when it was first released, the details, they claimed it was 50% off-world DNA that's like does not jive with any other genetics on Earth, which it's like we have more, I believe, in common with the banana than what that would
Well,
be. And
yeah,
that,
I don't think there's not or never or there's not ever been extraterrestrials that have come here. Of course, you're going to find that. I'm not saying it's either or. I'm saying that most of us have some type of otherworld human DNA in us. I think that's one of the big secrets that they keep from us is the
yeah, so
existence.
going into that, it appears that in the Human Genome Project that they have labeled Neanderthals as the same genetics as the elongated skull genetics. Thus, it's stated that we have this 6 or 7% Neanderthal DNA within the average human. That right there, that would be this off-world group or civilization or whatever that came in and then eventually bred in. And then also appears the Denisovans, they call it, or whatnot.
Denisovians.
Denisovians, and
Yeah.
that the couple fossils or bones that they've found are these teeth, and they're like literally 3 times the size of an average human. So it's like, are they giving the giants or whatever the giant race was, whether they were from this world or another, the genetics that were also mixed in a little bit with us potentially?
Well, generally with the Neanderthals, the idea is that they were, at the very least, the original Europeans, or some of the original human beings, and that we, as Cro-Magnon Magnon, we're the ones that show the signs of the genetic engineering and the off-world humans. We're the ones, us, humans like this are the anomalous.
See, I tend to kind of follow you on that track there, Walter. I'm not sure. Some of you probably saw my face. I was like, wait, blood with Neanderthals? Wait, but the Neanderthal, I am under the impression that story is given to us to give an explanation for creatures that shouldn't be here. Not necessarily where we came from. There's no proof that this is our genetic code. But do you understand what I'm saying with the Neanderthals? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that Neanderthals are linked with who we are as humans today comes from Darwinism, right?
Okay.
You guys know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is basically the base and the stem of it, that Neanderthals linked to apes, and therefore we must have come from apes.
Well, I don't know if they are linked with apes. Is that true? Is that accurate?
That's the link that they make. If you go down that rabbit trail, that's where you're going to essentially, I feel like I'm hot micing. Am I super loud?
No, you're good.
Is that better? Okay.
I think it's one of the others, not necessarily. I'd have to look at it. You're right. I'd have to look that up on
well, this is where it's getting muddled in my head. Is like, okay, I have this idea that in order to build a bridge between humans and apes, we have to find that connecting piece. And I think that's what Neanderthals does for archaeology or mainstream understanding. Do you follow me? I might be way off base, but that's kind of how it's going in my head, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong at all with that. It's that I suspect that, like, you're exactly right with that, but then it's the exact opposite that is most likely the case, that they like paint these Neanderthals as these like cavemen that were dumb and didn't do anything, when in fact they could have been.
That's where I'm going to.
Yeah, that they could have been.
See, now we have preserved mummies that are signified thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, and they look exactly like we do today. No difference. No big long face, ape face, different features. No, maybe a little bit shorter.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
how is that? I mean, these are found in the American continent. I'm not talking about different continents here, even though they are there too.
Right. Well,
But
that's part of the ooh parts or slash forbidden history that they don't like acknowledging, but that they just keep having to deal with, is that there are more and more of these ancient, like identical human Cro-Magnon style fossils and skeletons being found. That
and here's one for you, BurnEye, to pause and jump in. They're being found in the megalithic sites. These preserved mummies of thousands and thousands of years old are found in the megalithic sites. What does that say? What does that say? That Olmec, that Toltec, that everything we've been fed about Egypt is
a lie. Absolutely.
straight up BS. It's straight up out of a story in a fairy tale. That's the fairy tale. I hate to
Well,
break it to everyone,
I
but
agree fully with
you
that.
know,
Like, I personally believe through my research that like the original pyramid builders were a past advanced civilization, like the Giza ones especially, and any ones that were these. There's lots of mountain-sized ones that are being found everywhere, just like the Bosnian pyramids. You had Samir
yeah,
on recently.
yeah.
That's
Hey, we got to meet Amir in person. Like that was freaking awesome. You know,
so
and
just
I'm
like,
right there behind. Just jump in again. I'm sorry. I'm a redhead. I do interrupt a lot. And I have Latin in me too, so sorry.
no worries.
But you're onto something there. What's happening in the Bosnian archaeology camp is the same thing that's been happening and going on with INA and the rest of the Mexican archaeology camp in Guatemala. One of my favorite ladies who has done the digs in Uxmal has said since 1988 that there is a massive, like huge archaeological complex that borders Guatemala with Belize and Mexico. And that this is
Really,
all part of an entire complex. And guess what? Just in the past 2 years, has this been proven true? She's finally proven true with Fleur, with the ability to radar search the land.
that's I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's wild.
It's published. It's out there. But she's number I can't recall her name right off the top of my head. But she's out there in like academia. Look up Uxmal. She's all over the place. But
I forget the name of the other anthropologist or archaeologist. She had found a bunch of human remains and fossils that were somewhere in the US, I believe, or it might have been Mexico, that were like 20 or 30,000 years old, that she published several times, and they came out and discredited her as well. A bunch and tried to claim that it wasn't accurate. I'm going to have to look
yeah,
that
it
one up.
breaks the narrative. And that narrative is such the biggest gate kept secret of all time. I think it truly is, because it tears apart like what Tropic of Despair Walter goes into. It tears apart the narrative of the map of when America was discovered.
Right? Oh, exactly. And it's all just this lie that's the reset that happened after during World War One and World War Two. Was pre-wars, it was that it was we were remnants from Atlantis, that there was this past global supreme or advanced society and civilization, and that we lived in these ages of cycle and catastrophe and catastrophism. And ever since then, it's been taught that we're the best we've ever been. We came from cavemen, and that's all there is to it, right?
Sorry,
Yep.
guys, I got to step up for a very out, step up and step out for a very important phone call. But I will be back, BurnEye, when I get finished.
Sounds good.
See you in a bit.
All right. Well, I guess good segue to cover a bit of a presentation on the site of the Medicine Hat Badlands Guardians and Geoglyphs that I've been researching and went out to last year, and I'm going to be going back to, in the next few weeks here to investigate some more. And that, have you ever heard of geoglyphs or geoglyphology, Walter?
I'm familiar. Yeah, I've seen this done. Somebody's done this with Martian geography.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's these giant faces in a canyon. I think,
Cydonia, the face of Mars.
well, not just that, but I think it's also been done with some Venusian features. It's interesting. I've seen it. Again, Joseph Farrell actually refers to this in, I don't think it's in Demon of the Echor, but it's in one of his books. And it's interesting. Whenever I see those things, my first thought is, okay, what's the provenance of the image? Has this been photoshopped because this is astonishing? And, people say, nope, that, what you're looking at has not been photoshopped. That's what's there. It almost reminds me of the images that you see in those Richard Shaver images that when he cut the slices of rock, you would see figures and characters telling a story according to his story. But, you have to take Shaver with a major grain of salt.
Don't think I've heard of that that one. And is it pareidolia or is it real? And it seems to be that it's real. And the site I'm on here is called the ferrumfoundation.com, and it's by Arthur Ferrum, who's discovered this geoglyphology, ancient mapping science, and that such sites as the Yonaguni Pyramid that's underwater off the coast of Japan, the Bosnian pyramids, Indonesian pyramids, Peru, as well as the Nazca lines in Peru, that he deciphered, as well as Karnak and the megalithic stones in Europe. A lot of them do this, what he calls radials and geoglyphs, that when he measures them and maps them out on, you'll be happy to hear this, a globe model map, it presents or goes to all the other ancient sites in the world. And to get into geoglyphology here, I'll start with the Bosnian pyramid geoglyphs that Arthur Ferrum deciphered, and that through his research, he's found that the actual length angles of the sides and the corners of the Bosnian pyramids actually plot out to the ancient sites of Tunis, Luxor, Lewis Island. And then also he found this giant missing gap in Central America, showing that there was a cataclysm or a sinking there because the site no longer existed. But that when he added the four corners, or the not the four corners of the Bosnian pyramid, but the cardinal directions of it, that it also pointed to Cape Town, South Africa, the southern border of Russia, Gotland Island, and Bay of the Nazarenes, and that the other two pyramids, the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Earth, or I believe Samir calls it the Pyramid Dragon, could be wrong, they all map out to all these different ancient locations and cities and other megalithic sites and pyramid sites. And then when you do the trigonometry, or the corners to the middles of the alignment of the three pyramids, it adds an additional 3 sites there. Sorry, I'm just skimming over it and giving a brief description of what it actually states on his work here. But basically that the ancient pyramids were all built in to plot to these geoglyphs, and other ancient sites, and that's how he actually found the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians that we're about to go over in Alberta by me, was that several of these ancient sites all went to that location, so then he looked at it on Google Earth. But that not just the very ancient pyramids having geoglyphs, but that the old cities, some people call them the citadel cities or the star fort cities, but just the old fort city parts of the oldest cities around the world from several hundred years ago. Also, their main central square, all the roads out from them, why they were actually built like that is they also plot out to these geoglyphs, and that old Moscow here, he was able to decipher the radials and geoglyphs in it that perfectly maps out the territory of modern day Russia through the street geoglyphs of the city. And then on top of it, going back to the Bosnian pyramids, he found that the bastion forts, which are also called star forts, some of them that were built on top of the three pyramids. So more recently, within the last 300 to 500 years, that they also have these geoglyph radials built into them, and measuring those out was able to get these new radial points added into the Bosnian pyramids geoglyph mapping. Here's the bastion fort on top of the Pyramid of the Moon, and that when they all add up, it gives you a territory the exact same, but also including Ukraine in it, as the EU is today, which is quite astonishing that both the territory defined by the geoglyphs of the pyramids themselves, as well as the new bastion forts, plot out this territory that is the EU. And from that, I will go back or go to the Badland Guardians here, which is in Alberta, and this giant face here, as well as he believes a face here, an Olmec face here, that there's geoglyph radials. So here's the Olmec image, he believes. And then there's also the Mayan feathered serpent headdress face warrior to the left of the other face site. And here we go. There's these geoglyphs that he's found at this site, which, here we go. There are these earthenworks, and that's what I'm planning on going back this year to do, is actually find these lines, these earthenworks that he says are there, these giant straight lines, to confirm that they're actually really there, and these, I guess, terraformed radial lines. Here we go. Here's the ones on top of the faces, and the geoglyph sites at this site in Medicine Hat, Alberta, plot out to this territory right here, which is quite fascinating. And that he claims that the radials in Alberta go to such places as Canary Islands, Chaco Canyon, Shiprock Mountain, northern tip of Greenland, southern tip of Cornwall, Britannia, France, Ireland, Romania, California, Beaufort Sea, Cairo, Egypt, and that if I can actually confirm these earthenwork radials at this site and Arthur Farham's work, then it pretty much proves that these are massive, ancient, terraformed sites, and definitely not pareidolia.
Interesting.
And another, we'll just quickly show the Yannaguni pyramid, that he also deciphered as these radials. And in his research or his mapping deciphering, he claims that the measurements of each of the angles of the sides of this structure do all of these radial points that, when plotted out on the map from their length and angles, give you, well, this
What
territory. Sorry?
what's the latest, however, on the discrediting of the Yonaguni structure? Because
They
I recall that he came out and kind of admitted that it wasn't what he initially projected it as, and last I heard it was discredited. But what's the latest on that?
who do you mean by, or who came out?
The that the scientific authorities came out, and the guy who found them, my understanding was that this is the one that's off of Japan, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's some controversy over this site because
Yeah, so they claim that any geologist and the mainstream archaeologists all claim that it's just a natural formation.
okay,
And yeah, so I guess I wasn't aware of the original Japanese researcher archaeologist that came out and went against his stuff. But here, Arthur Fairham, using his geoglyphology radial measurements, showing the how he calculates the angles and distances from each of the rock cuts, actually plots out to this specific territory here, which just happens to coincide with the exact same territory that Japan, the Empire of Japan, was occupying and trying to occupy at the height of World War II, which, okay, if this is proven true, just fascinating as heck. I'm trying to get a hold of Arthur Fairham to actually talk to him and get his method of the measurements of mapping out these angles and lengths, how he does it to verify, because it's just astounding.
It's Masaki Kimura, and he still stands by his position that it's not natural. So naturally, as we guess, the mainstreamers say it's just a natural formation, nothing to see here, folks. Right? The usual.
Exactly. It's the mainstream narrative refuses to acknowledge any of these as possibly real, because once they get one of them, they have to acknowledge all of them, and then everything they've ever claimed is a lie, essentially, and proven wrong.
Yeah.
And so here, Arthur Fairham's also showing that there's a couple more of these geoglyphs off of the coast of one of the Taiwanese islands, and these geoglyphs also map out to north tip of Japan, south tip of Japan, Okinawa Island, Samoa, and Fiji off of these ones. But back to the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians, which Arthur Fairham claims to have originally discovered, I believe, around 20 years ago from deciphering the other geoglyphs. Sorry, originally the location, but then I believe it was like 10 or 15 years ago when he was able to use Google Earth to then find faces. And this main guy right here, that's an oil derrick with an access road going up to it. And the second guy, so showing the head plume of the Aztec chieftain there, the Olmec face, and then the Mayan with the feathered serpent headdress are the ones that Arthur Fairham found. And now I'll show that there's a few more in the site right here. So this is just west of the other faces there. This one showing what appears to be the long-nosed, big-head Birdman style of Easter Island, and then that being the lighter colored one to the left side, and then the right side, the darker one, what appears to be like a moai statue of like Hawaii or New Zealand of uh, the Polynesians, Micronesian stuff with the big eyebrow there, the big nose, the big mouth and chin style of character, right? So it's all these different indigenous masks and faces styles carved from above. And here we go. So here's the whole valley there with the long-nosed Birdman guy. I did not label these. I have to go back through. The problem is, so a couple times I've gone onto Google Maps recently and Google Earth, they give you the just clouded and snow covered and the worst quality images possible. And I have to spend the time to figure out how to go back through the time lapse and actually find clear ones. Potential other faces in between them, and then the main guardian here. And that I've also in Google Earth before gone up, and there's a couple more faces to the north in the adjacent valley and hills here. But
Hey, I have a question.
Yes,
I
sir.
have a question based on what you said a moment ago about having to go through and find the unclouded. Has anyone done an analysis? Has the practice of creating chemtrails increased since Google Earth has become a thing that the public has access to?
I guarantee you are onto something there, and that the answer would be an astounding yes.
It seems to me like, yeah, if people can get on the computer and use Google Earth to look down, it seems like, oh, gee, maybe that's what the chemtrails are, kind of also about, is us not seeing, the common folk not being able to see certain things. Certainly, I can tell you this from a military perspective. Certainly, they're wanting to obscure military bases and stations and activities. Yes.
Absolutely.
Communication stations and stuff like that. But a side thing might be to keep this kind of thing obscured.
It makes a lot of sense. So last summer, I went to this site and I drove on this road right here, separating these two figures. And, well, let me know what you think of this. Pictures I found what appears to be parallel terraces covering every single angle of every face of every hill, making up these figures, and that it's about 3 feet to a meter between each of these terraces on these from top to bottom, and it's just absolutely everywhere. I talked to the owner of the land that currently is the rancher there, and he's like, no, I do not plow or drive or build any of this. It's just natural from animals, which I find very hard to believe. Here I am right there walking up the hill, as you can see, for scale on the level of these terraces, and that it literally goes into the sides of the hills and the actual structure of everything making these up. So it seems like more evidence of evidence of artificial construction on them. So this right here is what was that giant feather or plume coming out of the Aztec chieftain's helmet or face there. And again, just rows upon rows of parallel lines from top to bottom, which you don't really see, especially in Alberta, naturally. So that is Medicine Hat, Alberta. Then completely different sites, but going back to check out these guys, what appears to be two guardians. This is in the Rockies of Alberta, the Kananaskis country, just before Banff National Park. It's some sacred indigenous land, and there's what kind of appears to be some face guardians on there, but then these guys, which kind of seems like an elongated head dude, and between that path then goes up to what looks like a carved, chiseled pathway on the cliff face that then goes into a tunnel cave on that side, as well as on the opposite side, another chiseled path behind, these guardians. Right there and right there. So another potential megalithic site. And then there's this guy that is on the front side of Mount Yamnuska, the same mountain there. And this is a cave right back here that actually opens up to quite a large tunnel, but my dog was extremely spooked by whatever was in there when I was here, so I didn't go in. And that this isn't really able to show properly, but each one of these was what appeared to be a stacked block over top of each other, and then what kind of appears to be like a reptile or dinosaur skull face with eyes on each side, a snout, and jagged teeth in the middle. Very suspect. So I'm taking the drone out with a couple friends to that, and this is Mount Yamnuska, so that one cave with the alligator face dude's right there, and then the other guardians are on the backside of that mountain. And here's a couple more pictures of what appears to be these terraces or parallel lines at the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians. Some more of the hill faces, and it literally covers every single angle of every single face of the faces. And then this is Red Rock Coulee Badlands, which is on the other side of Medicine Hat, Alberta, from where the faces are. And there's these mysterious giant red balls, sandstone balls, supposedly everywhere. And what appears to be a couple of potential mounds at this Red Rock Coulee site. Potential buried mounds? I don't know. Very interesting, very suspect. Oh.
Interesting stuff for sure. That's
right. So what has me most intrigued with it is the Julie Ryder's discoveries of Giant Playground. And I'll show a couple more pictures from what there is in Montana. like this guy, which kind of appears to be a statue or half a statue of guy with chest. Not sure. Very interesting. More of Sage Wall here. What appears to be a giant ankle bone, I think she was saying. Not sure. And then potential polygonal geopolymer rocks and these dolmens throughout this area. And then also this ancient star calendar, megalithic star calendar, also at the Montana Megaliths Giants Playground site. There's the eagle. There's not sure what that one is. I guess this is also there. What appears to be a stone troll or something.
Looks like an owl. It looks like an owl to me. But I see the face you're talking about, the troll
right?
face.
So trollish face, an arm going down there, kind of.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? Could be pareidolia though. Then the duck, or not duck, type of bird.
Well, it could be a duck or it could be a rabbit.
Yeah. More monoliths. What she's dubbed the Buddha of Montana or something.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, see the pointed head, the face is to the right side of the image there with the mouth and the nose. Wow, that looks very Vedic.
Right?
That looks like stuff similar to what you see in Angkor Wat and all of that. And I wish I could think of the name of the guy. He's escaping me. He did the stuff out here in Malibu and Point Mugu, and it's in, if I had it handy, the handprint of Atlas. And Seshari kind of fleshed out and did an excellent illustration. Let me see if I have it.
All right. When it comes back. Oh, and shout out again to Wandering Wolf, Michael Collins, doing great work. And this is him at Sage Wall. He documented and discovered several of what are acknowledged as archaeological ancient holes in a bunch of the rocks around Sage Wall on the property. Here's Julie Ryder at one of the Montana megalith dolmens here, and that it just the massive scale of what appears to be polygonal megalithic blockwork of a past time, pre-cataclysm.
Well, I don't have it handy, but it is pretty interesting. I have it here. You'll find it really interesting if I can find the darn thing.
All right, and if you don't, we'll get her ready for the next one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I'll send you a copy of the image so you can refer to it before, you don't have to wait for me to come back on before you can refer to it. It's very interesting.
Oh, yes, please. It's a parallel image to this guy.
Yeah, you'll find it real
Absolutely.
interesting.
So this is Michael Collins, Wandering Wolf at Sage Wall, where he's doing ongoing research. And this is Julie Ryder, many of whose photos we're looking at, and one of the dolmens at Giant's Playground. And it appears to be like the same style of the polygonal, megalithic, potentially geopolymer style. Here's a site in the area there she calls the Titan's Feet. And interesting that it appears to have 6 toes on each of these giant feet there. This one, I believe they call Dragon's Lair. More of Sage Wall, where it's like just so ridiculous that they call that natural.
Yeah.
Or lava plume or dike.
Well, they're the experts. You know, they know more than we do.
Right? Just naturally, this rock somehow landed between these other two and has stayed up ever since, right?
Of course.
Not an ancient dolmen. Here's the Swan Mountain or Swan Hill with the eye, beak, head, neck, and then wings. There's some sort of bird at least. Looks. Seeing it or not seeing it? Pareidolia?
Oh, the duck? The
Yeah,
swan?
the duck. Yeah, the swan, right?
Then I see the two, the other picture you snapped over to, I see the 2 eyes right there.
The face in the mountain, and then the Rhino Mountain as well, which all of these in the exact, like in the same mountain valley, I guess, or same area. So very suspect to say the least. And that when they hiked this, they found that it was what appeared to be all stacked blocks making it up. Another dolmen in the area. Just very, very suspect geology, to say the least. What appears to be a figure carved in. And then, like, what appears to be a casing type of stone poured around an inner monolith stone. Could be an eel or a fish. And just it gives you the inspiration or feeling that it's, you know, God either created one heck of a playground or someone had to build this, right? Either way, it's intelligently designed and structured. Another dolmen in the area, and this one very interesting because it's got this round giant stone that's making up this very unstable base, yet somehow stably sits there uninterrupted for many, who knows, millennia at least. Here is, I believe this is Omak, Alberta. It's dubbed Canada's Stonehenge, but it's just a star calendar that's been dated to at least 4,500 BC, so at least 6,500 years old, and it's right by the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians. Now back to more of the Montana Megalith site pictures. What appears to potentially be a pyramid site. Ooh. Potential face. Put it 90 degrees. Just very, very suspect. All in one area. And it's that if these are constructed and from previous civilizations, they're tens of thousands of years old at a minimum, so you have at least that much natural weathering and erosion on it. And here in the same area, they found what appears to be this parabolic dish rock as well. Very interesting. And here's the holes in some of the stones that Michael Collins, Wandering Wolf, documenting here next to Sage Wall, showing that there's evidence of it actually being artificially worked stone, yet they still try to claim sage wall all natural. Another potential faces, and this is pretty awesome dolmen, also in the Montana Megaliths. That key part I theorize and need to go when I do go visit this is during either the equinox or solstices to get the shadows of the sunrise and set on the faces, because quite often it gives them like a 3D definition when actually on those alignments.
Does that one particular one called the parabolic stone, does it work like a parabolic stone?
I believe so, yes. It's actually, I will bring it up momentarily in on the MontanaMegaliths.com website. She goes into it a bit more in detail. The robotic watcher guy. So this also in Giant's Playground, and that there's like this button thing on it here, and sadly it's not captured in the image of the what I called the reptile guardian guy of Mount Yamnuska that I took photos of, but there's this same button bulge on the chest of it that there is on this guy that I found quite astounding, and gonna have to go back with the drone to properly document this face also, I guess, in the same area.
That's pretty cool.
Right? It's like very, very, like, how much pareidolia can you have in one area, right? It just, the statistic probability is just impossible. Here also picture by Michael Collins of one of the rocks by Sage Wall, showing the same carved like water catching into the circle style as there is in Egypt and Peru. He's documented them on megalithic stones. And just how straight Sage Wall is, wild. Just wild. And then what also appears to be these scoop marks, as they're often described, also in Giant's Playground here, similar to what is in Egypt on the unfinished obelisk or obelisk. Oh, another. Like that almost looks like an Easter Island head, but upside down or 9 degrees. They call that a skull rock. Apparently these rocks that look like oversized bones. Or Sophia statue. Oh, okay, I see. Just extremely heavily weathered and eroded. Another dolmen. The cat in the rock, like, if, I don't know. If that's real and not modern painted, pretty wild. And there was one last one I wanted to bring up on the website. This one. So what appears, they call it the star seeding, and it appears to be some weird giant dude, different face, with then what kind of looks like a Benjamin Franklin character. Not sure, but very interesting. Are there better pictures of it? Another face. Oh, the birds. Just, there's so much that I don't know. It seems like it can't be pareidolia. Oh, getting into elongated skulls. Here we go. The Eagle Mount Amphitheater, a whole mountain that acoustically has the same sounds, or as an amphitheater, works the same as an amphitheater, yet made out of a mountain. Pretty interesting. Want to try it out? Got to go there. All right. Guess that's will do for that presentation. Maliah done her call yet, or still on the line?
Yeah, she probably just wrapped up a couple of minutes ago. I texted her, so she might be just wrapping it up. But
as she appears, welcome back.
She is
Just coming in the room, I guess there was some telepathy going on there.
Right? We thought of you,
And I
and
can't even hear you yet. I will be there.
well, we can hear you, and welcome back. This is a short video of very short, trying to show what appears to be megalithic blocks in writing on stone Badlands. It's a UNESCO site that is right on the border of Alberta and Montana, and it's got all sorts of petroglyphs that have been dated, some to 10,000 years old, some to as recent as a couple hundred years old. But it reminds a lot of Cappadocia in Turkey with the different
I've always liked that one. I've seen that one on your channel before. That one just really depicts it well. It's great angle there, by the way.
Thank you. And that there's other direction. So these guys, which definitely looks like sandstone blocks and has the ancient petroglyphs carved in. Trying to find
that one's cool. That little tiny cave hole right there.
Sorry. And the symmetrical lines everywhere in them. Trying to find, here we go. What appears to be, that one's not the best example. There's a couple more, but kind of appear to be the Carteret style, like in Malta, but that they're these irrigation channels carved into the stone. This one kind of resembling a pyramid structure, very similar to what you find in Cappadocia, only they're still inhabited. And trying to find more of the Carterets. But here you can see the swallow nests, the birds building their nests out of mud and sticks on the outside, yet the official geology, archaeology of every single one of the holes that, go back a couple pictures to show some of the holes. Every single hole you see in these structures, they claim were done by the birds, yet not a single bird nest or bird to be found in any of these holes. They build their nests on the outside. All right. This one, what could be a potential ancient building wall that looks like it was actually bricks at one point. Although that picture is too low quality, I have better, but sadly not in this one. And what would just be a lot of erosion over thousands of years from what could have been these ancient hill cities and mountain cities like you find in Cappadocia, and that in Cappadocia they find such places as Derinkuyu, the underground cave cities, literally underneath these mountain citied ruins and badlands there. It's just very, very suspect geology, to say the least. And not a single bird found in any of those holes or nests like they try to claim they're responsible for. It's just awe-inspiring walking there. Every time I watch it, just takes the breath away. And what they call are those fairy chimneys.
I don't know if you can really see that there, BurnEye, but that is standing on the ground looking up at one of the sites in Montana.
Oh,
And there's that shelving going on. And all deep in there, that's all those coloration in the stone is petroglyphs.
really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's in Montana.
Yeah, looking straight up, there's this
Wild.
yeah. It's quite the sight. But this is what that site looks like, but from the river, which is right next to it. My camera will focus there.
All right.
So that's next to the Kootenai River. You see that big bulge there on the side of the river?
Yes, ma'am.
Going up. So I say all along the Kootenai River have we got monumental megalithic sites
Yep.
that go deep into the Trigo forest and area and down into the Striker area. So if you're familiar with Highway 93, you know that's the route to get to Canada where BurnEye is. On the other side is this forest that BurnEye is talking about.
And I'm on the northern side of that
huge
border.
Yeah.
And I got a picture for you to see. This was on the Columbia River on Canada's side of what also appears to be a bunch of monuments. If I can find it. Getting close, getting closer.
I know, I went through the rabbit hole too.
Come on.
Man, look up while you're doing that. Let's see if I can show you guys a little more of these Montana stuffs, because there's some interesting sites just right there. I mean, as you're going into, towards the Canadian border on Highway 93 headed north, you're going to find, just pay attention, it's everywhere.
So what appears to be...
See, there's an island like that on the Kootenai. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an island on the Lake Kootenai and the Columbia River.
Yeah. Yeah, see, on the other side, on the U.S. side, on Lake Kootenai, there is an island that I literally lived like in the forest right in front of it, out in the Yak. It's called, and
Yeah?
It looks just like that. And I had so many experiences about that island. Oh my gosh! But see, that's about the town of Gateway. Now, the town of Gateway, which was the entrance into the U.S. through this border crossing, was flooded for the sake of Lake Kootenai. The dam, right?
Exactly. They flooded
the
this whole
entire
area.
town was flooded. Yes, they did.
what appears to be monuments there on that
Isn't it
island.
beautiful?
Right? So it's like, what did they dam up that is below that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are they covering
Yeah,
with all the
what's
water?
under it?
It was a river, now it's a lake.
I have it on good authority from the Forest Service itself that they covered up some major archaeological remains intentionally.
Right? Like, I believe they do that literally everywhere, including Egypt, including the Grand Canyon, or just at the end of it with Lake Powell there, and, well, Lake Koocanusa.
Lake Koocanusa is huge. And the whole the yak is okay. So it is the most remote, deepest forest we have in the United States. There are portals everywhere, interdimensional, whatever you want to call them. They are in the yak. I've seen them. And this place is so intensely spiritual, guarded by natives until the last stand. I even believe that this was the very last place that they did everything they could to protect from white men treading on, in the native sense. These invaders trading into this area, Lake Koocanusa, the yak.
Right? It was one of the areas where they resisted to the end, got the treaty and the reserves, and essentially was never fully conquered and thus still protected.
In 1966, the Kootenai tribal Indians declared war with a band of 23 of them on the United States. It's called the 2-Day War. It only lasted 2 days, but they demand that is how the Salish Kootenai Confederated tribes garnished the land that they do have in Montana. So,
Right? And so, and bordering on Montana is the writing on stone area that I was just showing and talking about, and that was another area that on the Canadian side they never were able to fully capture, and that they faced stiff native resistance from till the very end, and they had RCMP watch of the Milk River Badlands that that didn't present, that I was just showing these guys right here. So it's very similar in that they kept their resistance and didn't have these ancient sites ever raided, conquered, or plundered, I guess is the right words. Oops. And that these just go on for miles upon miles upon miles of, are there still tunnels in them? Are there still underground inhabitants? And this a much better image of depicting how much it resembles Cappadocia style of just what appears to be tunneled hills and cave dwellings and multi-story ruined ancient hillside civilization, essentially.
yeah.
Wrong way again.
Wait. Go. Oh man, now it's gone way too fast. Okay, about 2 before the end, before you went all the way back.
Okay,
There's a
this one.
profile shot. Go forward
Oh.
more. Now, those mushroom stones are freaking cool. Forward. That
Sorry,
place
went the
is
wrong way.
really special.
Yeah, this is all writing on stone. And that it's on both, I believe, on both sides of the border.
See, that has so much resemblance to Göbekli Tepe.
Wait a minute. Go back to those. Go back to. Oh wow, there's another one that
Right?
looks Vedic. That looks Vedic. That looks like something you'd see in Angkor Wat.
That's it.
Those things there. Now those things there. Those. Wait a minute. No. Go back to the round dome thing.
There's
Okay.
3 faces on that.
Right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Those look like the stupa
Yeah,
things that you see in Tibet and Nepal.
they
See?
really do look like stupas.
So I'm telling you, folks, there's something to this idea that this was a global Vedic civilization going around building these things.
Yeah, why do we have the same looking thing in Olmec land, Guatemala?
Yeah, and just like Gene Matlock and Richard Thompson, and
That's
other
freaking
scholars have
beautiful.
pointed out that the Mesoamerican culture has its influence of and on the Vedic civilization.
Yeah.
So it's like, is this one that collapsed? Like, are these
No,
stupas
that's-
or things or empty that were? Because
No,
this
there's a
looks
purpose.
like
It has to do with water. That has to do with water.
very, very suspect. And that throughout you'll see the straight line separating them, that it actually looks like it was constructed, not formed. Just block after block.
That has
Very
3 faces too. There's very clearly a front forward face there. I mean, you got a good side profile.
absolutely.
I mean, it looks like the Sphinx.
Right? There's
It's
multiple
freaking incredible.
images that
Now,
appear to
those
be
are
symbolic.
the giant doorways. See, I think those are specifically, we find them in the Montana vortex, the same thing, where that which appears to be small is big, and that which is big appears to be small. It's
Interesting.
interdimensional doorways, I swear they are.
Right. Well, when you talk about that sort of stuff, is it like, are these still inhabited by the little people potentially? Because that's like the size of tunnels that seem to be running throughout all of these. Legends of little people everywhere. I don't know. Don't know, but magical, magical
village.
place.
Yeah.
And that they try
Yeah,
to claim built all of that.
There's just so much observatory locations, specific. I see the specific strategically placed locations in order to sun clock, shall we say, observation of stars and planetary movements, which this is the prime location for that. Montana Territory is, along with the Canadian part that we're looking at, is prime territory for star seeing.
Oh yeah, I love going into the mountains and just observing and watching.
I saw some mosaic. That is so incredibly clearly man-made, or some kind of technology. Something
right?
We don't have, and it just has so much essence of water about it. See, that was the thing about the Olmec and the Toltec and the Maya peoples, is they have this concept of how to work with the water, with the stone, together. These two elements, water and stone. Yeah, in the Yucatan, the peninsula, there is no streams, there are no rivers, there are nothing like this. No lakes. There's only
Really?
cenotes. There's only
Cenotes.
cenotes, sinkholes in the limestone,
Right.
fed by
Well,
the aquifer.
and
So there's
aquifer.
only groundwater, aquifers, and the rainfall. That's the building of waterways with stone, with the limestone. And there's been a lot of debate through the years that are these cenotes connected by underground subterranean tunnels in which, kind of like the tide, they fill and they empty. Yes, they are. That is
I've
proven.
right. Yeah, it
They
is
are
proven.
all connected.
They did the dye tests in them and found that the dye would then show up in adjacent ones as the time went on, and a lot of them, I guess, have they've scuba dived through many now, connecting, coming out in other ones. The cenotes are truly magical, but also scary.
They could be both. It's like Luna said in our last week's show, there's man places and female places. And if you tread in the wrong, the jungle lets you know immediately.
Right?
You have to be a complete idiot to not recognize that, oh, I shouldn't be here. Oh, that's a bad feeling. You probably just trust your gut.
It's
Something's telling you should turn around and go back, or just slowly back out.
I agree.
That's what I tell people. They're like, aren't you afraid of going out in that forest, by yourself? The bears would eat you. I was like, the bears? Like, it's only idiots that get eaten by bears. I'm serious. You smell it out in the forest. You smell that bear coming miles before he gets there, and it's nothing about it.
And
like getting out of his way.
The bear will let you know where it is, and it's like you let the bear know you're not afraid, and unless
now they have. I will say in Glacier Park they have some problem bears. And we're seeing the effects of these problem bears now, and this has been going on for years. And it's to bears learning easy access to food, and that food being sourced by humans. Yogi the Bear syndrome. Give me your picnic box.
I like that term, the Yogi the Bear scenario, and that syndrome. That one. That is a problem. Those are problem bears. Don't approach them. But it's like when I was hiking Mount Yamnuska, where I was showing the one image. Let's see if I can bring it back up, of the cave that had what I dubbed the reptile guardian or whatnot in it. That my dog was petrified of the scent that was coming out of the cave, but the entire hike back down the mountain after the sunset, we were a bit late going down. There was a grizzly stalking our group of 8 people, and my dog kept eyes on the bear the whole time, but he wasn't afraid of the bear. Like, he was afraid of whatever the scent was coming out of that cave. And so it's like, don't know what was in there.
I agree, Mongol Rex. Lately, there has been weird going on in the forests. Yeah. It's been a few years now. And okay, so I'm going to go a little into the weird territory, but there's others that have gone into the same kind of experiencer mode and had the same results. I found out afterwards, but I call the Australian people, they call him the hairy man, okay, or the Yeti, the Sasquatch, right? And the ones that I have encountered in the Kootenay Forest, and have encountered her, several times. I've only seen a female, and she told me from the first time I encountered her that I would only ever see a female because I am female.
Really?
Yep. And she said that the males are, like, in a Native American sense, the closest thing I can give to describe it's like, have you heard the term they bury the hatchet? Meaning they have taken an oath for life to kill or be killed. Sorry, bad word, YouTube, I know. By this oath. So it's a forever duel to them. The males have taken this warrior stance because, as she told me, it was because they had become hunted and people were attempting to kill them and were killing their babies. They were catching babies and killing them, and that they had been killed. And they said they go through extensive amounts of, I know I'm hanging into the woo here, so bear with me.
That's okay.
Having been experiencer, this is where I'm coming from, okay? She said to me that these males, since taking this oath, before they were just evading and escaping, now they use their weapons as well. And so they are killing people, part of what's going on with the missing 411. And they're specifically choosing the ones who appear to be hunting them. They know they're hunting them. I mean, the hairy man in Australian lore and legend, as well as our other legend and lores having to do with Yetis or Bigfoot. I hate that name, Bigfoot. It's a very different breed. But in the Native American Sasquatch is that a defensive stance. Evade, don't entangle. These are not of our tribe. They're over there. They're interrupting, our living space to some degrees, but as long as they're not trying to kill us, we're not trying to kill them. So
I had a personal experience with what I believe was a Sasquatch. I know it was a Sasquatch last summer in the mountains of, it was in the town of, Headley, BC, famous for its gold mine mountain. And we were staying with a friend in his camper on the edge of his property. And it was me and my girlfriend, and we were in this little camper. And as the sun was setting, I was sitting on the outside stairs having a smoke. And all of a sudden I hear something right at the tree line, like grunting. And Amber yells from inside. She's like, "Bernie, stop that. What are you doing?" I'm like, oh God, she hears it too. I'm not hallucinating. So then I'm like, okay, a little creeped out. And I close the door and I just what the heck was that? And then we hear it walk off. And 5 or 10 minutes later, it had gone up to the middle of the mountain, just focal point, where it then made this screeching howl, cry noise that we heard it do twice. And then we heard from the next mountain range over another one call back, and it felt and sounded like the first one that was there was the male, and then the second one was the female at the other mountain range. And then at that point I was just terrified a little bit, because it's is this thing hunting us, watching us, calling for another one? And also Amber's stated, and that I had never smelt so bad in my entire life. And I was like, Amber, that wasn't me. That's literally like the definition, like one of the main things that you experience is how bad they reek. And then, so I barricaded like the door shut, and I was like freaking out, like, because I only had my camera or my cell phone flashlight. My main flashlight had died. So then I was like looking for something in the camper, found a couple fireworks. Amber had fallen asleep, and it was like another 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, I hear this thing walk back up to the camper. And it walked up to like the kitchen window, which was 8 feet tall. And I just hear this thing sniffing. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Because it's like nothing braced it. It was like standing and like sniffing in the screen. And the only thing that was between me and it was like this shanty little drape. And I wish on my life I had the balls to like turn my camera onto video and open the screen like the drape and actually take a picture or video. Being like paralyzed, full of fear and afraid for my life, I grabbed cologne and I turned on the flashlight on the phone and I sprayed the window with cologne and put the flashlight up, and I hear this thing just drop and roll away. And like then in the morning, I went out and looked, and I'm an idiot for not taking pictures of it. That's where I really messed up. But there was footprints from the tree line coming up to the window, and then what appeared to be like this 7 or 8 foot wide flattened area of something rolling off to like this bush that was a few feet away, and footsteps going off to it. But it's like it was giving this feeling of like, if you look at it, then it's going to take you sort of thing. Like I don't know. It was believe what you want, but that was my experience, and I'm gonna stick to it.
Yeah. Walter. What? Here's a dad joke. How many people, I think you're muted. How many people could smell if a Sasquatch farted? As many as were there.
What? Who asked that?
It was a dad joke.
I suggested maybe that's what they do, and then they run off laughing. Now, somebody said, Mike said that some of them have no hair, and it got me to thinking, what if there's as varied hair patterns and colors as in dogs and cats, you know? I mean, imagine like a Siamese Sasquatch. You know, imagine...
I found that their hair like really just shimmers, Walter. It's like it's a dark colored shimmer. The hair is how they blend in with the trees. Once you recognize that shimmer, have you seen the covert military cover up ghillie suit? Basically, not the ghillie suit per se, but the fabric that they can use now that like camouflages them with the environment around them. I forget what it's called.
I've seen people. I've seen those tests that were done with that blanket or that shroud where they covered themselves up, and it reflected everything around them. Is it similar to that?
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. What their hair does, it's like it just shrouds them in this shimmery.
That's cool
location, and it's how they blend in so well.
I can't help but wonder maybe if their fur and hair, like if it changes like a hair rabbit where it goes white in the winter and back to like dark in the summer sort of thing, as you know, an evolutionary trait potentially.
Yes. Yeah. Chat in the chat, William. Yeah, totally. That's what I found too. The family I met were showing me things in the cave systems out there in the Kootenai. Just some really fascinating locations. Because see, out there, There literally are petroglyphs and formations just everywhere. Everywhere you go, this stuff is. Especially
Well,
out in the yuck.
we are going to have to do a meetup and adventure there before it is all said
right.
and done.
We're doing a
Because,
documentary.
right? Well, I'm going to have to join you for that. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, so I have to end this very quickly so that I can still have, if it's under 2 hours, then there's the AI feature that generates a whole bunch of shorts that I can publish afterwards. But any last words?
I've worked really, really hard on this website. This has been quite the adventure to learn how to make this sucker work. WalterBosley.com, where you can find all of our products and merch and books, and little by little, everything hopefully will all be linked over with LostContinentLibrary.com, which one day we'll get to turn into a store too. And that will house everything that we print. Right now, WalterBosley.com just houses Walter Bosley books, and a few select. We keep some merchandise running in and out of there, but
my computer's freezing. I'm trying to switch over to Lost Continent.
he's trying.
But we'll
That's all right.
Post websites in the live chat for everyone, and we will have to do this again very, very soon. And next time we will plan it that we'll be able to have you join us for the whole stream, Maliah and Walter. And
yeah, sorry. It was just a super busy night tonight, but I'm glad I got to spend some time with you guys. I love this topic. We'll get into it more. Definitely.
100%. And I'm sad that you weren't here the whole time, but that's okay because it was awesome and amazing, and we will do it all over again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Walter, not sure if he's still there. Any last words?
He probably had to jump out for a phone call. I know there was one coming in for him too. So,
well, in that case,
busy
perfect
is good,
timing.
right?
Thank you, Maliah. Thank you, Walter.
Thanks, BurnEye.
Love you all. We'll do this again soon. Ta-ta.
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just BurnEye.
Hey, Bernie, just like last week, huh?
Weekend at 30.